What would you do if you found out that your mom was driving under the influence of narcotics with your 2 young toddlers 2 weeks ago? She knows you know, but she hasn't called to apologize, take accountability, nothing. So now you're reaching out to our community wondering, is it okay if I uninvite her to my baby shower happening this weekend? So what happened was, her kids, 3.5 and 2 years old, were over at her parents' house playing for the day while her and her husband worked. Totally normal. Her mom actually provides childcare 3 days a week for them. So they were over there playing, and that night, the listener's sister called her and said, hey, when your husband picked up the kids, did he notice anything weird about mom? She's like, no, nothing notable. Why? Well, when I was over there, she was acting loopy. That made the listener's stomach drop because 3 years ago, their mom had a pill problem, and when they described her behavior, it was always described as loopy. So she's like, oh no, I have to investigate this. So she got off the phone with her younger sister, texted her mom just a casual question, asking if the kids had brushed their teeth that morning at her house, because the kids were picked up at 6 a.m. and they were there until 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Her mom responded, how would I know? They got here at 4 p.m. So she is like, no, Mom, remember you picked the kids up at 6 p.m. and then, my husband, we'll just call him Ralph. Ralph picked them up at 2 p.m. The mom just kept fighting with her. So she just stopped talking to her, like it wasn't going anywhere. So the next day she talked to her dad, and he confirmed, yes, in fact, your mom is using narcotics, and she was under the influence when she was babysitting your kids that day, and she drove with them in the car under the influence. She was so livid, but her dad convinced her, don't talk to mom. We know how this always ends. It turns out her mom is very emotionally immature, doesn't take accountability, doesn't apologize, really like blame shifts, makes her feel bad. I mean, she's just a master manipulator. So he's just like, you're pregnant, you're 8 months pregnant. Like, I don't want you to be under stress. I don't want her to say a bunch of hurtful things. Let me take care of it. So she's like, okay. Well, then the following day she talked to her dad again, just to follow up to see what transpired, and her dad's like, it's all taken care of. She knows that you and your sister know, and I have the medication. You don't have to worry anymore. So it's all taken care of. I just wouldn't bring it up at this time. Okay, so 2 weeks go by, and she's just expecting, okay, my mom knows that I know she did this, and she still hasn't called to make it right with me. That's why she's starting to wonder, would I be out of line if I uninvited her from my baby shower? It's a special day. I don't want to feel like anger when I'm there, and I would just tell everybody else she's sick. But what she said is, I know that the backlash from my mom and dad is going to be enormous if I do this. They are going to go on and on and on about how much I hurt my mom. They won't consider my feelings. It's going to be a disaster. But I truly feel like it's okay if I do this because of what she did and the fact that she's not taking any accountability. Okay. First of all, I'm so glad your kids are safe and nothing bad happened while they were under your mom's care while she was under the influence. I'm going to run through some options for you because uninviting her to your baby shower is actually really significant. I know that you're trying to enjoy the moment, but long term, it could really rupture your relationship or your family dynamic. And so I just want to slow things down a little bit. Plus, you're going to get a plethora of information and feedback from the Mind Your Boundary community. So my input is just one input. The first option is to go with your gut. If your gut says, yeah, I just want to uninvite her and just tell everybody she's sick, you can go with that. And if you want to go through the backlash of everything, like your parents making you feel like the worst person on earth, and however long that lasts, if it's worth it to you, then it's worth it to you. I will say, if you do that, the thing that will be lost is her decision to drive under the influence, because now all the heat will be taken off of her, and they'll have a reason to just redirect all that responsibility. Everything that she did will now be able to be directed, it will be overshadowed by the fact that you uninvited her to your baby shower. And I don't think that's fair to you. So I just want to say that, you can totally do that. You have every right to do that. The next option is you could try to force an apology. It would be an empty apology, since you have stated in your email that she's never actually apologized for anything to you or your sister your whole life. that she is emotionally immature. And just a reminder for anyone that doesn't know this, when you're dealing with someone who is emotionally immature, they function emotionally like a 3-year-old, so they can't take accountability, they can't self-reflect, they can't put themselves in your shoes. So an apology is very empty, and it often feels like they're mocking you when they do apologize. It's a very hurtful experience when you go through it. If you've gone through it, you're like, yes, it sucks. So you could reach out and you could tell your mom that you need to talk to her before the baby shower, and you need to talk to her about the driving thing and basically force an apology. But just know that we want apologies for a few reasons. We want to stand up for justice. We want to make sure that we're not like railroaded, and we have like dignity and self-respect. But really, we want to feel understood by the other person, and that bridges, that's just like a bridge to rebuild trust. And you wouldn't be getting that. And so I just want to throw that out there. The last thing is going to be very unpopular, and this is what I would do if I was in your situation. And I'm sorry that you even have to be the one to do it. But this is what I would do, is I would compartmentalize my hurt, my anger, all of that, and I would go through the shower. I would get the photos for the baby book. I would let my mom come, but I would know in my heart that things will be different going forward. You've already set great boundaries. So I know some of you are going to be wondering, what about the kids, the childcare? She's watching them 3 days a week. She actually got her mother-in-law to take those days. She shifted her schedule around, and she's almost at maternity. Or her maternity leave is in 7 weeks or so. So she's got childcare figured out. But I would go through with the party, allow her to come, and then I wouldn't say anything. I would just, know that I was going to process my feelings afterwards and set strong boundaries, which you've already done. But I would go to the party, get it done, and then afterwards, I would process my feelings without her, because you know that it's going to make it harder for you, and it's going to be more painful trying to force her to do anything. She just gets mean and defensive. How this looks is, when I'm trying to process pain and without an apology, I'm trying to heal without an apology, I acknowledge my feelings, you dang right, I'm so upset that she put my children in danger. I can't believe she would do that. I'm so upset that she didn't even acknowledge that she did this to us, to them, all this stuff. So acknowledge your feelings are real. And then, since I believe I believe letting go of stuff like forgiveness is a gift to myself, I would forgive when I'm ready, when I don't want to rehash it anymore in my brain. When I'm done rehashing the story, I can't believe she did this. Oh my God, what if something happened? When I'm done with that, then I will know, okay, now is the time where I'm ready to forgive her. I'm not going to tell her anything. I'm just going to release it. And how I do it, I usually just go for a walk or I journal. And then while I'm doing this, I have very strong boundaries. For the foreseeable future, my mom would never be alone with my children. That's very sad, but that's a very big consequence. That's a consequence that she earned by being careless, by taking narcotics, and also being careless and driving under the influence of narcotics with your children. So all visits would be family visits. Obviously no child care. So that is how I would do it. This is just one perspective. I know you are going to get so much insight, but because you said your mom is emotionally immature, I understand that her limitations are she can't give you what you need, and you're only going to be met with more pain by pressing her to take accountability. And I feel like you would be so much better off healing without the apology and setting firm boundaries to keep yourself and your family safe. What do you guys think, the Mind Your Boundary community?